Hello, welcome back to Al Talks. This podcast I started 3 years ago to chronicle me starting stand up. This podcast is a weekly podcast. It comes out once a week, and this is just a small little introduction video into the podcast. So, down below in the description of each episode, you can go to my Linktree and find links to everything connected to me. This podcast is available on YouTube, which you're watching it on right now, and also on Spotify. But yeah, that is just a small introduction into this podcast and everything that goes along with it. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. As I mentioned last year, I got to do one last cool thing before the year ended, which was to do my first ever comedy support act for a comedian who you've known before, who has appeared briefly on the channel, and his name is Dogroy. Now, something fucked up happened at the show. Actually, four people walked out because they weren't happy with Dogroy's material, and it was a lot of problems. Uh, but eventually got sorted out. But I was just going to talk about how that gig went. It was, to be honest, it was nice to have done the support act because it was in my local town, basically the closest town I live close to. And, as the kind of, it is me and that currently reside in Athlone, there's me and another comic. Well, I think there's one or two more, but I'm not sure. But yeah, so like me and I'm kind of me and this other guy, kind of the local talent, and it was like the people walking out getting offended by the material, by Dockers material. It was just like, because the thing is like, um, Dogroy has an act on stage, okay, and that's all it is. It's an act. Like in real life, he's not like this, and so it's just, to me, it felt strange because it was like you have freedom of speech to do an act, which is that's what it was, and for people to get like, okay, I understand people can get upset about things, but it was just very very strange. I went up first to perform because what happened was I went up, Dogwood performed, and then there was another support act, another comic from Dublin, who I remember him because he used to like, I have met him before, but it was like because he did comedy and I stopped and he started again. So when I met, like first when he came and we were doing introductions, it was like, oh, he's like, oh, he's another one of the sport acts, and it was like, oh, he's, I do recognize him, but it's like I can't place your name, and he's like, oh, that's great, and he had an interesting set where, like, no comic has done this before, where he's like, oh, well, he's like, I wrote notes, so I'm gonna review some of your jokes if you don't mind. And then after the show, he's like, oh, I probably should ask for your permission. And I was like, I thought I seemed you be a good sport. I was like, nah, man, don't worry about it, because people like have always been like, oh, you'd be afraid of doing comedy roast and all that stuff. I don't give a fuck. I really don't care. I think it's hilarious. And so it's just, it was funny. The material that I did was, because Dogger was like, you can do as much as long as you want. So I was like, I'll do 10. I know, because the show must go on. Because Dogger, I was doing like an hour set. So I did, because I thought I was going to be the only sport. I didn't know there was another fella coming, but like, I'll do 10. I think I'd end up doing about 12 or so. Because I did a bit of crowd riffing and whatnot. Um, well, not so much crowd riffing, but what was it going to? It was kind of a. I suppose it was like in a way it was crowd work. I was asking members of the crowd, but the way I kind of do crowd work is I'll tell to people something and then when they kind of have like a shocked expression, go, "Why you didn't know about this?" It was like, come on, that's kind of how I do crowd work. I know that's not how you do crowd work, but that's just the way I do it, I suppose. So I suppose that is that, and yeah, well, no, it was cool to like as a local comic and podcaster to do a support act because I've never done one before, so it was kind of a nice way to cap off the year. Because, like I said before, I don't usually perform during December, but I think this year that will change. The reason I don't do it is because I like taking the extra time off, and like traveling during the Christmas period is just very very hectic and like tempers right. Like you see it all the time at airlines when like obviously I'm not flying, but it's still, and even it's just it gets crazy, and the increased prices of staying in places is just kind of I've always avoided. But this year I think we'll see kind of how the Christmas itself kind of goes. But I definitely think I will change my mind because I do lose out on a lot of gigs by taking December off. You could still perform, all the way up to, and some comedy clubs do take 2 or 3 week break during Christmas, but that's kind of later in the month because usually work gets very hectic and crazy. So it's just like it's starting to pick up, and it's just I don't want to be frustrated traveling, kind of getting into mad things with whatever, and then having to like I just don't want the fuss. That's all it boils down to, really. But I think I might have to accept the fuss this year. But we'll see. Um, this being the first episode of this year, there isn't. Yeah, this is. Well, this will have come out on the 7th of January. And there's 2 more episodes after this, and then you'll get some new news. But because I'm bulk recording this, but so far, uh, I have not performed. But I don't know by the time the 7th comes around because you still have 2 weeks of bulk recording episodes, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so what the hell was that? But yeah, so that's kind of it in terms of the support act. I'm just trying to think in my head, is there anything else really I could do or talk about? But that was pretty much it. Some people were not happy with at the show and they walked out and they tried to cause a fuss at the end of the show because the one the person was a member of law enforcement as well, but it was just she was off duty. I don't. It was just it was really strange. It was like what the hell, like, and then I remember talking to Dogroy's brother, and he was like, "Oh, we've got a great podcast episode." I was like, "Yeah," because it was just I don't know, it was just really crazy. It was like, where the hell did this fucking shit come from? It was strange. It was great to do a support act, an enjoyable show, but it was it was just strange. The the altercation thing happened, but I suppose that is what it is. But yeah, so uh, first episode of the new year. Hope you had a good New Year's, good Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, and I think that's pretty much it for this episode. Like I said, 2 more episodes of bulk recording, and then you get some new interesting news. Uh, we'll be doing Show Me the Funny on I think it's February 10th, which is a Monday. If you are in Galway, come down and see me. It's Galway, Ireland. Not, I don't know if there's any Galways around any other place in the world, but yeah, I suppose you could go see me there because this has not happened yet. I never promote that show. I never promote that competition on the podcast before, I don't think, but yeah, so I'm doing it now. Or maybe I have and I've forgotten. I don't know because it's always at the start of the year. It's a nice gig as well to do at the start of the year because it's really like I say, I really enjoy it. It's a very fun room because it's such an it's like Ireland's longest running comedy competition. It's well established. People know it. People who go there are comedy fans, and I love performing for that crowd. Because there's nothing worse than watching 20 people looking at you and going, I'm here because she dragged me or he dragged me. So it's nice to perform to a crowd that actually wants to see comedy. So it's always good. But yeah, as per usual, all links down below for everything. First episode of the new year. Great show last year. Doing the sport act, moving up in the comedy world, heading into year 6. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'll see you next one. Bye bye.